I'm ChosenArchitect, and this is Stoneblock 4. Now, last episode, we were introduced to a few new echoes, a few new characters. One being the Magician, and this Magician sells a lot of magical goods, which is kind of nice, and also has a magical quest line for us to follow. We also have the Quartermaster, which is a storage-related fella here, who is offering all kinds of different storage-related tools, but also some other tools once we get this progression done that might help us accelerate our progression a little bit. I don't know, that hammer's looking pretty nice. Then we also have the Machinist, which offered us a create-based quest line and also offers some really nice create items that we should be able to purchase in the future, like rotational speed controllers. Come on now, that's awesome. But now let's head back home and let's take a look at some of the things that we're going to be working towards. Last episode, we also set up all of the sort of automated resource generation stuff from the unearthers, right? So we have our unearthers that are running and they're producing all kinds of resources for us. And I have been working on processing to the best of my abilities some of those resources. And you can even see right here, we have now ran out of brushes on everyone. And brushes are something that I want to work on upgrading as soon as this guy figures out what he's going to do. Now, brushes are definitely on my to-do list, but we have other fish to fry, at least I would say. We need to work on the Quartermaster section today. I think this is going to be a good starting point. It's going to get us some power. It's going to get us a foundation and a little bit of mechanism, it looks like, because we are going to need to get our metallurgic infusers up and running. We should be able to produce steel, and we're ultimately going to need all of these materials. We need steel plates, we need electrum wire, we also need steel mechanical components, and we also need ourselves some control circuits from Mekanism. Now, this is going to have us get into several different mods, I think. To be able to make sheets, I think the easiest way might be to do productive metalworks. To be able to make electrum, I mean, one of the easiest ways might be to get into Ender IO just a little bit so we can alloy things. And then we also have steel components. Now, this is immersive engineering, but we can make steel in a couple different ways. We can make it within our metallurgic infuser. And we're already going to need them because we need them to be able to make these basic control circuits. So deep down, this is actually not a very difficult quest. We only need 4 times the amount you see here because we need 64 of these and we get 16 for each craft. Oh, and we're also going to need some sort of battery to be able to carry our power temporarily, because each one of these crafts are going to now require a little bit of power being sent to that world engine. So now the first step is going to be producing some fire clay bricks. So let's go ahead and get as much of this smelted up and cooked up as possible. So I think 4 stacks is going to be plenty, I think, for us to get like really up and running with productive metalworks. And I've already started to clear out a little bit of a room here, so that way we'll have a space to be able to put our foundry. Now, I think the hardest thing to make here is the liquid heating coils, and for this multi-block, we are going to need to make 9 of the heating coils, which requires 9 buckets. Everything else, very, very easy to make. It's just the bricks and simply combining these little components to be able to make things like the foundry tap, to also make, like, for example, the thing we're going to cast onto, the casting table. Also recommend making a basin. It's going to be helpful down the road. Oh, and we're also going to need a foundry tank. This is what's going to allow us to power this and heat it. So we have that. And then we also need the controller itself, which is going to require a blast furnace. And one other thing, which is going to be the foundry drain. Everything else, these fire bricks, can just simply be converted into the bricks themselves. This is probably one of the most complicated things we're going to be making today. So let's go ahead and place this in. This is the floor. This is the heating coils themselves. And then all we have to worry about is covering this just like so around the side. We don't have to worry about the bottom or anything fancy like that. And we just continue to build this up. Now, on the actual corner sections, we need to figure out where we want the controller. We can have like the controller here. That'll be fine. And then on the side or on the front, we can have the spot where we fill it. So we'll have the tank. So foundry controller is where we can input items. Tank on this side, and then the foundry drain. I think it'll go perfectly right here. Now, wherever we put the drain, that's where we're also going to have the tap. So we could honestly put the foundry drain, I think, right here on the side too. I think that would be a little bit nicer. So that way we can have 2 potential taps. We can have one that sends to here, like the main casting table. And we can have one that sends to here, which will be the casting basin, just like this and this. And then once we have all of these components, I'm just simply going to be building it up, very reminiscent of the good old-fashioned Tinker's construct, just without the really pretty textures. I still hate these textures. For this, I want to go kind of high up. I want as much resources as I can to be able to go in here at once. I mean, I would at least like to be able to put like 64 items in here. Don't know if that's going to be possible. Oh, it is. Okay, so whatever height I just went to, that does seem to be enough to be able to fit 64 items in here. That's exactly what I want. Now, this does need lava, and to be able to get lava, we use that entropy manipulator that we got from the Echo. And we can essentially convert this into lava, pick it up with a bucket, and rinse and repeat until we run out of power. But we could easily charge this back up once we get ourselves some power, which we're about to do, by the way. So there we go. We have the lava. This thing is ready to go. We can't use it just yet, as we still need to make some cast. And the way we make cast is, well, with steel, believe it or not. And you may be wondering, Chosen, well, can't you make cast inside of this? Like, can't you actually make the steel in here? Technically we can, but not exactly. So we do have the options for fluid alloying inside of the actual furnace, but for steel specifically, we do need molten carbon. We can't just throw coal in here. We actually have to turn it into carbon fiber strands first before we can get any carbon out of it. But before long, we'll probably have more of these carbon fiber strands than we know what to do with, because this just takes place with the centrifuging process, which does take 2 machines to make. You are going to need coal dust, and you get that through the Orotech process. It's down the road. We'll get to that eventually. So I've started clearing out this area over here, and this is actually perfect. This little space right here, I think will be great for getting like some basic mechanism stuff started, and even getting some basic power. I'm thinking about using these walls and generating my first major power right here. But how am I planning on doing that, you might ask? Well, I have a way. See, it gives us 3 good options right here. We have an RF Tools coal generator, which honestly, pretty basic in what it can generate. And in my opinion, I think the better alternative is the simple coal generator, which I still want to make because there's actually some other uses for this ferrite core besides these coal generators. But these coal generators are great on their own, and I definitely want to do a little bit of goo manipulation to get that here in a second. But I think first and foremost, heat generators might be one of the best early game starting solutions because they are sort of passive. And as soon as we have like a couple of them, we can just essentially generate as many of them as we want. Like, these things are scalable, and I think that's what's going to make them so powerful for getting started. So I'm thinking like 18 of these bad boys. It may seem like absolutely wild doing this, but we should be able to put these guys all next to one another. And these can be lava logged. Not many blocks can be lava logged, but these definitely can. You can place them directly in a lava source. So if we have this wall filled with lava sources, well, we can place these guys directly in there. Then if we want to get even fancier, we can fill the bottom here with lava, the side and the top with lava all around the ones on the outside. But I know at the moment you're probably like, well, Chosen, I only have so much charge on my entropy manipulator. Well, if we go into applied energistics, we can make a charger. And I think this is going to be one of the best ways to charge this up. So as soon as we place down our first heat generator, which we can do that just by placing it right here for right now, and we put a little bit of lava like down here, this is already going to be able to power this charger directly. We place that directly on the front, and we can put our entropy manipulator in here. So you know what? Let's go ahead and do this. We also want to fill this back area with lava. This is where things can get kind of messy, but all I have to do is use this to immediately convert this into lava. That's going to start generating a little tiny bit of power. It's not a whole lot of power. And you can see right here, we're producing like 1.6 FE, very, very minimal there. But it might be enough to power this up just a little bit. Oh boy, we may need a bit more lava around this. So beautiful, right there. I just converted all of those with lava, and I can cover this just like so. And so now this should be producing a bit more power. I don't know exactly how much until we probably put this in and we start to see. We're still at 1.6. We do need to make sure that this itself is building up some power. So we also want to make sure it's lava logged. You know what? Let's do that whole lava logging situation on it. Make sure everything is removed. We also want to make sure we can pick this up without it being destroyed. Okay, thankfully. There we go. I'm going to place this here. And this is what I was meaning by lava logging. We can click this, turn it into lava, and then place this inside of the lava. And you can see right there now lava is spewing out the front. But this is now generating about 13, so it's generating a bit more power, which is good. We still also want to surround it with lava, which is also why it's not generating any more power than we were seeing before. But that amount of power should be enough to definitely charge this a bit faster. I wanted to test this out, and I want to see here. Actually, let's go ahead and make sure this is cobble. That is right here. I wanted to test this, and I hope this works, but I want these right here on all four sides to be converted, and I want them to contain another lava logged version of this. So that heat generator is right there, and then this should be a bit faster, hopefully. We'll switch that. We'll place another generator there, and same up top here. Place one here. And I put a hole here to kind of get that lava to hopefully flow a little bit nicer, because it can be kind of a pain. Let's see. I don't want to click on a source. I'm going to block this off. There we go. It's going to get a little messy, as you can already tell. Just lava is kind of a mess here. Ooh, but now this thing is charging significantly faster. Okay, max output 400 FE. You can also put lava inside of here. And I'm really hoping that this gets a little bit faster. Now, overall, this is going to be pretty nice. If this is producing a full 14 with its current standing, that is pretty decent. We're looking at this whole wall right here with this little 3x3 area filled with lava. That's going to be producing like a passive 126 FE per tick, and same over here. So these are just going to be passive, but I do want to go ahead and get into the just dire things, and all we need is a little bit of goo for that. For the just a few things, we can get ourselves some goo. Now, I believe this either uses rotten flesh or sugar in order to function. So we'll take some of our sugar cane just to sort of get our first bits of this, and we are going to need some blocks of iron. Perfect. So I like to place down the iron, for example, right here, and then we can place the goo, surround this on top and all of the sides with iron, and then last but not least, hit it with the sugar, and then slap on another piece of iron. So now we have the entire thing completely filled. And all of this is going to slowly spread, infecting this iron block until we get ourselves some ferrite gems, I think that's what they're called, crystals. And then we'll be able to harvest those. That'll get us the ferrite core. And now all of these are completely gooified. And as soon as this is done, this is like the slowest operation, the slowest goo. It'll all convert. Any minute now. Any moment now. There it goes. Perfect. And we can use any tool. We don't have to worry about fortune or anything like that. And beautiful. We have 21 of those. Beautiful. Put that in here and it turns into those ferrite core ingots. And now we can use this to make our coal generator. So we are going to need a little bit of that coal. I think I was saving up. Did I bring some down here? I did. Beautiful. So yes, these are pretty decent coal generators. I think 2 of them are going to be more than enough for us currently. And so for us to be able to utilize those generators that are back on the wall, we do need mech cables. All of this is going to like full circle into itself. And so now would be a good time to actually make our metallurgic infusers. So you know what? I went ahead and made a generator for each one of my metallurgic infusers. And I want a double set over here for making steel. This will make making steel easier. And then we'll have one for our basic alloys for Mekanism, and then also our circuits. So now that I have some coal going in here, I have some charcoal. We'll do one side. This is going to take in our redstone, and then we put copper in here. This is going to get us our regular infused alloys. And then to get our circuits, we are going to put in the osmo over here, and this is going to take double the amount of redstone. So I'll be sure to put that in here, 2 stacks of that. Over on this side, I want to get steel up and running so we can actually make energy cables to be able to transfer the power around. And for that, we'll put a coal in here and iron in here. That's going to combine up. And then on this side, we just need to put the coal in. And when this is finished, we want to transfer that immediately over to here. So I can go into my item configs, and I want my output to automatically go to the right. And we shouldn't have to config anything special. We should just be able to, if we go from left to right, most things are in Mekanism, we can just place in a pipe and just simply transfer that over. That's going to automatically send the enriched iron in. That's going to finish processing up, and we'll get our first steel dust. That's what we need, so we can make some cables, and we won't have to worry so much and rely heavily on all the coal. And we're about to have our cables, but I want to make this a little bit cleaner looking with the lava, and we should be able to use some zinc This is actually a feature of Create, believe it or not. Throw it into a stone cutter, get yourself some copycat panels, and these copycat panels should be able to cover up that lava for us, so long as we like start from the top. We start here. Let's make this actually a little bit nicer looking. I want it to be flat against the wall. I'm going to break this. I might actually lose it. There we go. I want to place it flat against the wall, sort of like this. And then we can look at it and automatically place down just like so. And this will allow us to carry this all the way over. We're also going to need to probably do that here. We can go all the way down, and this is just going to give us a nice look, and we can texture these however we want. We're getting both sides done. Let's actually get some steel in here. So throw this in. We'll take that steel dust. It should get us some steel. Beautiful. That's actually what we need to make our first cables. Oh, man. And now we can start moving power around more effectively. There we go. Basic universal cables. We just need a tad bit of redstone. Oh, perfect. And this will allow us to basically turn these generators into like one central unit. So I'm going to actually remove all of these in one go. And then just start placing in the cables just like this. And that will get rid of everything, just like you see. Beautiful. Now, after taking a look at these machines, we can actually see the temperature directly inside. You can see this is 224C. Or Celsius, and right here we have 700, which is actually touching this lava block. There's one on the back of it, and it's technically not counting this one, I bet, because this one just seems like it may be connected to the sides and maybe getting some residual heat that is being distributed through all of the machines. And I wonder if I was to remove this, if this would generate more power, but I don't know. I really don't know. I think, though, overall, these are pretty cool. We could even cover this face and actually lava log these power cables. This is another thing that can be done. But I think that's where things just become a headache, and I kind of just want these to be a temporary power source. But boy, do they look kind of pretty here. But there we go. In that time, we now have our infused alloy. We have the control circuits. I have the rest of that steel, and I can now pick these machines up, place them on this wall, which is kind of what I want the wall for. And I can now use the power generated directly from this to keep my machines up and running. Beautiful. And we can use these generators right here for some other things. They can store like 1 million FE each, so that's a lot of power right here. Now, yes, I do know that we could technically use the engineer's hammer to make some sheets, but it is kind of an expensive method of doing so. And instead of doing that, I can just cast my first sheet right here, take some of the steel, and now that we actually have steel, we can melt regular steel down, and I can cast out a sheet with that original iron. Now, I will be probably using my hammer from like some easy recipes if I'm kind of in a hurry, but I mean, I do want to be as efficient as possible with this stuff. So making sure that I can cast these things out is going to be important. Directly under here, I think it'd be a good idea to place in, let's see, we can just place a barrel, and then I'll place a hopper on this side and a hopper on this side, and that kind of has these casts sort of automated. But there we go. We have the molten steel. I can right click here. We can actually give a redstone level or lever to this, which we can use to control whether or not this is automatically extracting things. Ah, beautiful. I think at this point, since I'm making so much lava and I'm just simply putting in buckets, I could probably use a tank. And eventually we'll have ourselves like a lava chicken, for example. But this tank is going to be kind of nice. See, we can just simply turn this into a bucket, and we can line up some stone like inside of our base here, assuming we didn't build our base out of anything that's volatile. And we can basically hold down shift and scroll wheel, and we can set this to bucket mode and then right click. Now this is a bucket, and if I put this in my offhand, we can just simply walk forward, right click, and right click again to pick up the lava. It's literally that easy. And why exactly do I need this lava? Well, we are going to be needing dielectric paste, so this is like an introduction into the power mod. We can actually use charcoal, some clay, and a lava bucket to produce quite a bit of this. And that's kind of why I want a tank. And I don't remember, can we actually use the tank in this recipe? We might be able to. It was like charcoal and clay, right? Do we have a little bit of clay laying around? We do. I mean, typically, I would say probably won't work, but you never know. Yeah, it doesn't work here. If I'm in bucket mode, does it work? I'm gonna probably say no, but I've been proven wrong before. Definitely. Let's take a look. What's the actual recipe? It's this right here. So yeah, we are going to need buckets specifically. Perfect. So yeah, I can just take these out and we can actually do that recipe here. So yes, just the clay, a bucket at a time. There we go. And that's quite a bit of dielectric paste. I think that's going to be enough to be able to produce the products that we need here. This casing, we are going to need just 4 of. Now, it does seem a little weird making some of these like random bits and bobs, but I guess it is kind of showing you, hey, you do have access to being able to start power technically. And with that, we basically made all of these basic components in order to get this up and running. Now, it does mention power generation with the dielectric casing, and I think that's to sort of get you started with some of the basic like wireless power sending, but we'll see how this goes. Here's a gift of the pebble. We can get anything good. Oh, we got a little mysterious cube. Is this the regular? I think that's a regular mysterious cube. I would break this, but honestly, it's not going to be used in that fashion. I kind of want to keep it around because this is kind of an important item that we would have had to have bought otherwise. Kind of saved us some money. It's also the item that you would typically use to get your applied Energistics inscribers, but we don't actually use inscribers in the normal way, at least at the start. Now, jumping back into the quest, we do need electrum wire, and if we kind of continue this on, we could use productive metalworks to make this electrum. I believe that it is quite easy. We just take some redstone and gold, but there is another mod that I want to dip my toes into just a little bit because there's some things that's going to be made a lot easier if we do, and that is by making ourselves some Ender IO machines, or at least one Ender IO machine, and that is the alloy smelter. This bad boy is a powerhouse for making alloys, and even with the basic tier upgrades, with it being very slow, it's still super, super good. And you can see right here, they even made the recipe like significantly cheaper than normal. We are, however, going to need grains of infinity, and I was tripped up the first time I see this. We actually just need to toss gravel directly into fire to be able to get this, not light gravel on fire, which would sometimes usually be the way that we would get it. But yeah, we just simply toss it into the flames. And so I can just light the ground anywhere, toss in some of this and that, and look at that. We got plenty of grains of infinity. And the void chassis was made so much cheaper to get into. I mean, that is significantly cheaper. Now we are going to need basic capacitors for this, a tad bit of gold, a little bit of copper, and that's really all we need for this. And it is sort of a progression thing where we do have to like level up to be able to get the higher tier. We are going to need like coal dust and things like that. But honestly, just the basic tier is going to be more than enough. And then we also need, well, 1 obsidian. So yes, we can do this. And I believe right click this again, shift right click this to turn it immediately into obsidian. And then we just use our diamond pickaxe. Slowly, and I mean slowly, mine this up. With everything in hand though, we now have an alloy smelter and we have a basic circuit. So we can make most of our alloys immediately within this. I do need to disconnect this. I don't actually have the wrench to do that. You know, I may move this somewhere else. Let's just put it like up here for now. All right, so capacitor goes in. That allows it to start building up power. And it's just so nice having this like passive power that we don't really have to fuss with. But now I can use this machine, for example, to throw these alloys in and let it sort of cook up. I can also take this out, and I think if we do the exact same thing, we can also have it started in productive metalworks. But I wanted this because we can make many other things in here. For example, brass from create, and we can even jumpstart stuff like that. Now back to productive metalworks. While this is working up, you can see this is producing. But if you have multiple metals in here, just like you were able to with Tinker's Construct, you can click on the one that you want to be dropped to the bottom, and that is going to drop that to the bottoms. And we can go ahead and start our automation by just giving this a redstone signal. And when it finishes, it automatically sends it out because I have a hopper down here directly into that barrel. So now we're at the point where we really should get everything kind of put together. I'm going to need 8 steel that needs to go in here. We need to start getting all of these basic components put together that we're actually going to need to be able to complete this. So if we take a look here, you can see this cost 2 per craft. And 2 of them is going to be 8, and we technically need to multiply that by 4. And so if I wanted the first set, I needed 8, so I actually need 24 of these, 24 more, so 32 in total steel in order to actually complete that whole recipe. So I'm going to get that thrown in. And then looking at everything else, let's see, we already got the plates. We got 32 electrum. I think that's more than enough for this. I mean, the big thing we have to look at is actually the world engine machine blocks here. So 2, 4, 6, 8, we need 8 electrum wire. That is literally it. Cool thing we can do to actually get wire is we can just use a stone cutter And we only get 1-to-1 here, and there are some other mods that will give us a bonus, but this is by far one of the easiest ways to do this. And so we can just pull this out. And it's also automatable later on. We should be able to automate this very easily with Applied Energistics. Before I get everything wrapped up, we also do need to be able to store some power. So yes, getting a basic energy cube is going to be a great way for me to be able to do that. And we do have energy tablets. These are filled with power. I don't think they transfer power into this. I guess it'll be interesting to find out if they do. But I very seriously doubt it's going to. Let's see. Let's put this over here. And I am going to have to do this by hand because it does not like the fact that I have these energy tablets full of power. There we go. Oh, and it does. It does carry over the power. So look at that. This is now already almost half full. Speaking of power, though, we could take this and let it charge up this way. I mean, that's going to be pretty nice. It's going to drain all of the buffers from all of these. We're going to get to see kind of how much power each of these are generating. 106 FE down here. I do feel like the heat is being distributed in a very interesting way. So I have no idea. I do think, though, all of them combined together, I mean, this does work out really, really well. Look at that, though. 106 FE. It's almost like the heat is like dropping because these produce less, but the ones at the bottom produce more. Maybe you guys can explain that to me in the comments. I have no idea how that's working. Either way, I'm happy because that is producing significantly more power than I was originally thinking it would. I mean, that's just down at the bottom here is producing like 300 FE per tick on its own. Now, the last thing I need to do is I need to technically make these steel mechanical components. Now, these are, by the way, cheaper if they are made inside of the engineer's workbench with the proper blueprint. But in this case, I do not have any treated wood at the moment, nor have I gone through the process of getting treated wood. And so I'm going to go about it the more expensive way. But we have the ability to produce more steel quite easily. So yeah, I'm just going to do it this way. And with that, I think these are the basic components that we need in order to upgrade our world engine, which is kind of cool because it sort of prepped me into getting some really basic machines up and running that we are going to need moving forward. So I think it's time for us to take everything, head to the world engine, including our energy that is filled inside of the energy cube. I'm just going to place the energy cube directly on top, go into the configuration, and then set this to output and automatically output. That's going to send all of the power into here. And I think we can just simultaneously craft all of these just by dropping all of the items in at once and just kind of letting it go. It's consuming power. You can see right there. Oh boy. And it is done. The 64 world engine machine blocks, the basis of getting this thing upgraded. Now, I did completely look over the quest, but there was a mention here to go back to the Quartermaster that I completely forgot. But I mean, we need to do that anyways. We still managed to complete this regardless, and our quest should reflect that. So let's head back to the Quartermaster. I'm sure this guy is going to be super happy with me. All we need to do is complete that stage, and then this was the stage that was tasking us to do the world engine. You can see right here, we've already completed it, but I still want to read this. Now, this piece of infrastructure set up, y'all should be able to head on over to the old world engine, and bring some power from your base to craft some machine blocks. These components are what hold the entire dang thing together. So good luck and don't mess it up. Get yourself plenty of steel mechanical components, basic control circuits, electric wires, and those dielectric casings y'all made earlier from the world engine. And then make sure you got enough to make the whole load of them. The whole load of machine blocks, that is. All right, and so our task is craft 64, which we've definitely done. And we now have them inside of our inventory. So we have to take this, and we can complete this quest right here. And oh man, hopefully we get something good. What is that? This is a replica artifact wheel. Do I know what that is? Artifact wheel, up to 30% adaptive resistance to damage. Only obtainable by the Echo store. Oh, that's an expensive item we just got. 225 buckaroos to get this. They're up to 30% adaptive resistance to damage. That goes in the head slot. That seems really powerful, honestly. Now, going back to this guy, we can complete that stage because we definitely did that. And it says, I don't have much more I can do for you right now unless you're looking for items in my shop. Go have a chat with the other Echoes and see what they need. It says the WERK system will be updated with more knowledge soon. Very nice. And look at that. We now can purchase everything from this guy. So many cool things. Look what's on my head, by the way. Oh my goodness. When I take this off, I've got this huge thing now on my head. I like this head ornament much better. I do want to buy some things though, since I am here. For example, I do want to buy the Wand of Symmetry. Such a good tool to buy. Oh man, the building gadget, I kind of can just craft that. So I think I'm just going to just wait until I can craft it. The Experience Obelisk would be a nice thing to craft, but I think here soon we might be able to get the Just Dire things. We'll have to see. A feeding upgrade? That's pretty good too. We should be able to also upgrade that. Only 20, I might as well buy that. That way we can auto eat. We can also buy picks from this guy. Ooh, I might want to keep that in mind. Anything else in here worth buying? Definitely these copper upgrades. You know what? We could upgrade some of our chests. That might be a good idea. Let's buy a few of these. I think we have enough chests that it's definitely worth buying. We need 2 per regular chest to buy those. And I think that's good. Now that I'm home, I can take my basic to copper tier upgrades and I can upgrade a few chests with these. Ah, beautiful. This does give us quite a bit more space, but it also gives us some upgrade slots and the ability to upgrade these chests even further. Because once they are copper from sophisticated storage, we can then craft the copper to, for example, gold, the gold to diamond, and also the diamond all the way up to Netherack. I mean, Netherite. I don't know why I said Netherack. But anyways, back to the quest. It says, speak with the Echo of the Quartermaster, which we have just done. And now we need to, well, build that machine block. So let's make sure we get back to the world engine to rebuild this thing. Otherwise, if you do it in other dimensions, it may end up breaking some things. But yes, this one's actually a rather big one. So let's pop open the quest and we'll submit the world engine blocks like so. And then we hit a symbol. And that is going to place all of the blocks with some fancy particles. And there we go. We have now assembled and upgraded our world engine. So now it tells us that we can use our world engine that we just upgraded to make one of the best tools for getting around. And that's an explorer's compass. Allows us to find structures and all kinds of fun stuff. So we just need a compass and it looks like a little bit of power here and amethyst, and we can make this thing. Oh, and by the way, just in case you were wondering, what exactly does this Wand of Symmetry do that I was so excited to buy? Oh, you are going to be excited about this as well. You can find the center point of your base, and you have some modes. You have mirror once, which you're going to mirror from left to right. You can mirror on a rectangular or mirror in octagonal. For what I'm about to do, I want to do the octagonal. And this is going to be pretty interesting. So the center of my base, I can click this in, and anything that I break over here is going to break over here, assuming that it's the same block that is. And so long that I have it in my offhand, or not offhand, in my my hotbar. So if I go up here and I start breaking some of these foundation blocks, it will actually break it on the other side as well. So you can see right here, I break that. It just broke all of these blocks. It's so good for building with symmetry, and it works for breaking, and it also works for placing blocks. Yeah. Now, I also want to take my feeding upgrade that into the advanced version of the feeding upgrade. Let's put that inside of our main backpack. And I do want to tell it specifically what it's allowed to eat. And I'm just going to say, hey, only eat bread. That'll prevent it from eating weird things that we may not want it eating. And that already by episode 3 has got us automatically eating and not needing to constantly eat things. But anyways, back to actually using that world engine. So let's head back. I've got all of the materials needed to get that up and running. I refilled my power, so we can just slap that back on. And we just toss all of the ingredients in here, and now we can craft it because we have the appropriate tiered goods. Look at that. An explorer's compass. Very nice. And that right there grants us another major reward, potentially. Oh, we got just a regular vanilla crafter. Lame. This is modded Minecraft. Get that vanilla out of here. So in all seriousness, here we go. We got an explorer's compass. This is going to allow us to potentially find structures that we may be finding hard to locate. But most of the structures that are deemed necessary, we should be able to use a compass for, which is going to be very helpful as well. I think this is a good wrapping up point. Man, we did quite a lot today, honestly. We got Mekanism set up. We got a little bit of Ender IO set up, got some power up and running, passively generating, got ourselves a good old smeltery from Productive Metalworks. Man, we are really trucking along. Got an incredibly powerful thing here, up to 30% adaptive resistance to damage. That is ridiculous sounding. So yeah, I think we're going to be set when we do go exploring. And exploring we're going to have to do because these other sections, like this one, for example, has a little bit of an exploring bit we're going to have to dabble into. Getting into ours, very, very easy. This I'm not even super worried about at the moment. This will be something that we should be able to passively get into with no problem whatsoever. But this section right here, I think we're going to work on that next episode. And yes, it does involve create, but believe me, you're going to love it. Or at least I hope so. And so if you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to click that subscribe button if you haven't already, and well, give this video, guys, a huge thumbs up. And with that being said, it's now time for me to thank the amazing supporter of today's episode. And that huge thanks, well, that's going to go out to Yellow. Thank you so much for your amazing support and choosing to support me over on the Discord by becoming a Discord premium member and supporting my content in one of the best ways possible. You absolute boss. And guys, I look forward to seeing you in the next one. And as always, thanks for watching.